Master, Master, we have a visitor. Master, Master, we have a visitor.
Well, nice.
Master, Master, we have a visitor. Master, Master, we have a visitor. Master, Master, we have a visitor. Master, Master, we have a visitor.
To take you
Master,
on a
Master,
swing.
we have a visitor. Master,
I would
Master, we have a visitor.
Master, Rocky has broken his chains and vanished. The youth playmate is loose somewhere in the castle grounds. Magenta has just Master, the dog. Rocky has broken his chains and vanished. The youth playmate is...
Dr. Scott! Janet! You are fortunate, for tonight is the night. You are fortunate, for tonight is the night.
Well, nice.
You are fortunate, for tonight is the night.
Slowly, slowly, it's too nice a jump to rush.
Well, nice.
Master,
There are those who say that life is an illusion, and that reality is simply a figment of the imagination.
Good evening, everybody. Sit down. Relax. It's Saturday night.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
How did it happen?
Master, Rocky has broken his chains and vanished. The new playmate is loose and somewhere in the castle grounds. Magenta has just released the dogs.
You are fortunate, for tonight is the night.
There are those who say that life is an illusion, and that reality is simply a figment of the imagination.
How sentimental.
This sonic transducer. It is, I suppose, some kind of audio vibratory physiomolecular transport device?
You mean?
Yes, Brad. It's something we ourselves have been working on for quite some time.
But we're keeping it away from Pete Hegseth because he'll give it away. Are you guys ready? Are you sure? Just checking. Are you sure?
Well, nice.
I'm just a sweet trans.
Well, nice.
How did it happen? You are fortunate, for tonight is the night.
There are those who say that life is an illusion. There are those who say that life is an illusion.
Slowly, slowly, it's too nice a jump to rush.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
We watched this thing. Power on this thing. Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special edition. Well, did you think I couldn't control this silly gadgetry of Substack with all the technology that's available? Anyway, turns out 1973, 53 years ago, the Rocky Horror Show debuted in a small little theater in London, and it was supposed to run 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And it's still running on Broadway. What to know? So, now I could say this program is dedicated to Pride Month. It is. Just happens to be as well, should say. I think every month should be that way. There's some commentary in there. But, you know, it's Saturday, and you got to enjoy some really nice music, right? So, because of the way in which copyright strikes and giving away someone else's movie works, you can't just easily take one of these things out. You can't just easily take the music and throw it on all the platforms. They get really upset about that. I will say I want to thank Linus for giving us a significant segment that will be in the main interview with Richard O'Brien. One that's very important to my heart. We get to see, well, you'll see. We'll see, right? But tonight we have the special set. I spent all day, as you see, kind of working around. Put up some lights up here. Had to put the posters over here. Installed 4 new monitors. Now, I will tell you that, see, like, these monitors are not very expensive. But, in all honesty, fundraising was down this last month, and it's understandable. Some of it not just on this account. I know some other friends, and some of it was due to the way the economy is working. Also, I don't think some of these are infinite. Have I slept in the last 24 hours? A little bit. So we have live viewers. Chris Sampson here in Kyiv. It's really, really late. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's a reasonable question. Have I slept? A wee bit. A wee bit. Also, thanks to my Scottish team, even though they lost to Morocco. I mean, it is a sport. Let's see here. Full disclosure, I have never seen this film or musical. Well, that basically means in the land of Rocky Horror, that makes you a virgin. But also, you know what? Won't be happening here because I'm not playing the musical. But it will be discussed. But speaking of musical...
Як багато гуртів є, існує багато гуртів. Ви всі це знаєте. Ну, правда, ви знаєте? Да. Начитывать під гітару. Come on. Я в перший раз стендапер. О, я про це, да, саме про це. Коли ти нервуєш. Так, і саме сьогодні всі, хто тут зараз будуть, а вас я вже бачу більше 1000. І ця 1000 прекрасна. Ця 1000, ця сотня, ця десятка. Це ті люди, які наживу послухають пісні, які ще ніхто не чув. Ми хочемо вам подарувати сьогодні не зовсім етно, але й не зовсім метал, але й не зовсім кор, але й не зовсім і не зовсім.
By the way, this is Harmata. This is a great band I like here in Kyiv. This is from the Ukrainian Festival last year.
Шикарний виступ. Я не побоюсь цього слова. Шикарний виступ. Ось, так. Є! Ось. Ця етнопрограма максимально присвячена всім тим, хто зараз буде тут. Кожній людині. І ми вже щасливі, що ми маємо змогу сьогодні вам презентувати свій, нарешті, лонгплей, нарешті перший альбом. Так, друзі. Тому чекайте пару хвилин, і ми зараз вам трошки заспіваємо дуже файних, етнічних пісень.
Also, this was the Defender stage that my friend Oleg Skripka gave to us for all 3 days. And the fact that I didn't have to move stages was great, but the band is awesome. So I got 3 tracks from Harmata before we enjoy our interview with Linus O'Brien. And then the great Richard.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава нації!
Смерть
Україна! Ми вас вітаємо біля сцени героїв, сцена, де виступають тільки військовослужбовці. Зараз буде неймовірний гурт, неймовірні чуваки, а ви можете далі не йти, а зупинятися прямо тут. Я хочу, щоб ви не обернулись. Єс. Стоп. У вас собственний мім? А підійдіть сюди. Давайте. А ви кудись спішите? Ні, все, ставайте тут. Ви знаєте гурт Гармату? Зараз узнаєте. Підходьте ближче. Та всі підходьте, що ви боїтесь. О. Ті, хто там спускаються, також спускайтесь. Дівчата, я бачу, що ви стоїте. Я розумію, тіньочок, все хорошо, але давайте. Кожана курточка можна зняти. Біла футболочка ідеально, на сонечки просто супер стоїть. Тому, у нас Дмитро вже тут, всі тут. Я тоді просто оголошую і звідси валю, а поки Гармата буде виступати, у нас є 2 скриньки. Одна із них на підтримку Збройних сил України, інша на підтримку дітям загиблих героїв. Я прошу вас задонатити 10, 20, 50 гривень, хто скільки може. Ну а зараз на цій сцені зустрічайте неймовірних чуваків,
Enjoy
яких
some
сьогодні виходить
wonderful,
альбом.
authentic Ukrainian rock music filmed by me last year for you, for our friends.
Ти бачиш цю величезну
Гармата.
2000 народу?
Так. Я не знаю, що ти употребляєш, но хай буде так. Якщо ти їх тут бачиш, то хай буде. Зустрічайте вашими оплесками гурт Гармата!
Master, we have a visitor.
Нам пояснили, що ми під владою над людей. В списку лише присутні Уєцевс і Прометей. А я такий же самий, десь маю дві ноги. І може список просто спалив. Він уйде, чує. Я вступлю без вагань і залюбки. Сфотографую сраку, повішу на стіні. Вічне є прощення подарую гармонію. Де тут приймаю любові, в перші ряди я вступлю. Де тут приймаю любові, в перші ряди я вступлю.
Червона калина. Wow. Yeah. So I'm driving across the country with my friend Alex to actually a series of bad events, to be honest with you. And we were exchanging some great music. I had music from Clutch from New Jersey. And he turned around and said, "Have you ever heard of Harmata?" I said, "Nope." It was an instant sell. Absolutely. I have a list of musicians that I would always want to film or at least catch up to see, and that was one of them. In the meantime, they gave me a song called Strike, which was filmed, that for me was just, I mean, the parallel to Clutch, no offense, and I'm not saying like, first of all, I always believe great artists rip off all the good stuff. But it had that, you know. So I would air that during the live streams, and it was one of the few things that I didn't film that I'd put in there until basically finally all of a sudden I got to.
Наступна пісня називається «Страйк».
Master, we have a visitor.
Мета виправдовує засоби, бачу ці, не бачу перепон. Вони бувають такими ласими, країна рабів, вмикаю. Або тебе, добре
Master, Master, we have a visitor.
Oh, I suppose you want sound. Oh, all my best poetry. In and out the window, back and forth. The fun part. You're such a good audience. You know? That's how it is. It's nice to have friends, you know, that will make sure that everything's working for you. And sometimes the gadgets are a little tricky. I mean, I know how they work. Basically, they are...
Sonic transducer. It is, I suppose, some kind of audio vibratory physiomolecular transport device?
I mean, yes. I mean, it's
something we ourselves have been working on for quite some time.
With Palantir. So, but, you know, the main thing to understand about how the device
is capable of breaking down solid matter and then projecting it through space, who knows, perhaps even time itself.
You mean he's...
Well...
The problem with AI, as you see, now I wanted to get into this tonight. I think we talked about it last night, but
there are those who say that life is an illusion.
Do y'all want to get on with the interview?
It's simply a figment of the imagination.
Okay. Right?
I see you shiver with anticipation.
Well,
let's just get to the interview, guys. It's just Linus O'Brien, a fantastic director, a truly incredible documentary, right here on the Wiretap. So to our viewers, hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tonight we have someone that's very special to me. We got Linus O'Brien here, who has directed a wonderful new documentary called The Strange Journey. And Strange Journey is the story of...
Rocky Horror.
In 1964, I got on a boat to England. England was monochromatic until 1967, and suddenly England became Technicolor. I got into Jesus Christ Superstar. The director was Jim Sharman. I said to Jim that I'm writing a little musical myself.
I said, I hope it's not religious. And of course, it's the only one that ended up with its own cult.
We opened and it was a phenomenal success.
We created immersive theatre.
People were rushing to get in and see it. This was something alive.
We were allowed to make a movie.
We just worked our asses off. There was something about not having money. It added to the edginess of it.
And then the movie flopped. It just didn't make any sense.
Tim Deegan suggested, why don't we run the film at midnight? I said, how's it doing? He said, what's interesting? It's the same 50 people every week.
This crowd is lining up for a film about transvestites.
Every theater where it plays becomes something like a nightclub.
There was energy in the air.
It was a trip. People were throwing rice, and it was like we were in a wedding party.
It was spreading to the other theaters in other cities. It steamrolled.
Rocky allowed you that freedom to live out your dreams.
This was like a pop-up book of rock and roll and sex and drugs and the power of that.
I think the movie's about saying yes to life and to everything.
It has to be considered the major cult movie of all time.
It's not a movie, it's a way of life.
When did you realize your dad was a famous space alien?
I mean, I mean, you phrase it that way. He's just always been dad, right?
It's astounding. Time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll.
I think so. I don't know any different from anyone else. I mean, I can see my other friends' lives and their relationship to their parents and see the differences and everything. But when you're in your family, you're, and especially at that age, you're just, you're just living your life. You don't really take it on board. There were some moments which, kind of stood out. He was in Flash Gordon. I had a small role in Flash Gordon, and I went to the set and met Sam Jones and Timothy Dalton and these people. So that was kind of interesting and special. I knew it was special. But I was in boarding school from the age of 6. So, I was just trying to survive, essentially.
Right.
Not that it was harsh or anything, but it was, that was my world. So I was just trying to deal with being a 6-year-old boy and growing up and doing all the family stuff. It was Rocky would just pop in and out of our lives. Roles that my dad was in. He was in Robin of Sherwood, so I'd go to the set of that. So I was obviously aware that, he had an interesting and special job, but it seemed all fairly regular to me.
It seemed a fairly ordinary night.
Even though from the outside looking in, it's not. But yeah, that's just how it was.
And so basically the surrounding of both like the theater and film was a natural environment for you.
I guess I don't know if it was natural, but it was just the way it was. It was just our lives. Obviously, having more perspective now and being older, I can see what a distinct and kind of unique life and perspective I have on all of this, and his work and his career. But yeah, just like all of us, we're just trying to get by most of the day, however we can.
Sure.
And that's I'm just in that regard, I'm no different from anyone else. But I do obviously the daily interactions on social media and in person, and all the stories that people tell me about how much they appreciate my dad, what he created, and how it's changed their lives. And in some ways, it might seem like hyperbole, but I think Rocky has probably saved hundreds of thousands of lives, literally. And it's kind of strange from that regard, because I can't think of another work of art, another song, album, band, or movie or play that has done that. So it's startling to my dad and to me, the effect that Rocky has had on many people. And so, this documentary was a way of kind of highlighting that and making people feel seen. So, we filmed a bunch of shadow casts, which are for people who don't know, it's the performance that takes place in front of the screen as far as the movie goes. And we filmed the New York shadow cast and the LA shadow cast, Sins of the Flesh. And
wow.
And what the hope was that, even if the shadow cast members from Milwaukee and Chicago weren't in there, they could see themselves up there, and that the stories that Jack Black and Trixie Mattel and the
Right.
other shadow cast members talk about are their stories. They're your story. They're a lot of people's stories. So
Yeah.
that was the goal, to celebrate them and what they've loved for 50 years now.
Well, I want to also honor that I hadn't realized I had seen your mom in the cast, because I know that whole bunch of faces that were in Frank's court, if you will.
Mhm.
And when I look back to prepare for this, and I'm watching your mom dance in there, I'm like, that's very special to see, because again, the family's in the business. Tell me a little bit about your mom, and also I know that they had like a pop band back in there in the 70s. Yeah.
Right, yeah, it was called Kimmy and Ritz, and
Wow.
yeah, they released I don't know, about maybe 2 or 3 singles, I think. Yeah, my mom has struggled with addiction over the course of her life. I think she was very talented, had a great voice, but she let her personal demons kind of get the better of her. So it's been, a somewhat tricky relationship, but
Sure.
yeah, it's nice to see her up on screen doing her thing. And yeah, it was tricky, but it was
Sure.
also
Sure.
it's also nice to see people talk about her like yourself.
Sure. Well, one of the things I think that is so special about Rocky, that again, I think your dad said it became the people's film, right? Is
Right.
that in the late, I was heartbroken. I didn't know we lost Sal. And that's a big deal for those who don't know. Sal Piro changed the direction of the film a bit, and I'd like you to talk about it more than I
Preaches
would.
a lot
But
to me.
Right.
the
Preaches
fact that he wasn't,
a
I
lot
know
of-
you also had that sense of
liberation
there,
and freedom and happiness and joy and love.
Evolving from the stage, just the Rocky Horror Show, into the movie, and into later the audience participation, is a big part of, I think, what made that film catapult into what it became.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the strange thing about all of this stuff, the things when you try and trace back the genesis of Rocky, there's so many little things that happened along the way that without those little things happening, we're not talking about it today. Sal Piro being a huge part of that, really championing the whole repeat viewing night, Friday and Saturday night. In the late 70s in New York, he really, he really took it to heart and kind of created his own family around it, and really brought people in. He's, it's an interesting mix. I love Sal. And in many ways, Sal for me is a true New Yorker.
Right.
He's brash, he's loud, but he's also welcoming. And I really feel like he epitomizes New York for me in many ways. So I really have a real soft spot for Sal, because I love New York, and he kind of represents the New Yorker for me, and I love the people there. I love the fact that I was just back there recently for the Broadway opening of Rocky.
Right, we're going to talk about that. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And
It's awesome.
What I love about it is that you can have a really meaningful conversation with a complete stranger on the streets of New York, and it can come out of nowhere, and you don't see each other again, obviously. But it's that immediacy that I love, and I think I don't really find it in too many other cities. Maybe it's the effect New York has on me, and I become more open.
Sure.
But if you're in Manhattan, there's this kind of shared understanding that you're all in it together. It's like this beast, New York, and so for Sal to create a welcoming place for people who were a bit lost and but and feeling a bit marginalized, or just wanted to have a really great Friday or Saturday evening. For him to create that home for people is indicative of what was created in all the other midnight screenings in the 70s until today. But I also think as well, I have a very, after making the documentary, and maybe I didn't focus on it as much as I should have, is that during the original rehearsal period, for when Rocky was only meant to play at the Royal Court Theatre upstairs, which seats about 60 people for 3 weeks.
Wow.
That was supposed to be it. It was never meant to go any further. If it had been sold out for those 3 weeks and then it had ended, everyone would have been completely happy. But there was so much joy in that rehearsal period, the 3 weeks prior to the 3 week stand there, that joy and that spirit, much like, ripples on a pond from a stone, it keeps reverberating. And I think the spirit of that, as much as Sal, and I'm not taking anything away from Sal, because
Sure, of course.
he did a tremendous job there, but it's the spirit that was imbued in that rehearsal period, which seems to have maintained and also translated into the shadow casts that are currently running. And it's I don't think there's another, my dad wrote 60% of the songs in the script before the rehearsal period and probably wrote the remaining 40% during the rehearsal period. But it was imbued with everyone's kind of, from Jim Sharman's ideas to Brian Thompson's ideas to Richard Hartley, Sue Blaine's, and the cast that really infused a spirit of joy and happiness, which maintains. I think that kind of probably gets lost in amongst all the other incredible things that had to happen to bring us to this point. But yeah, it's really, I think when you have a group of people who are all collaborating on a single goal and they're all bringing something to the table, I think and this is not just for, it could be a sculpture that you're all working together. It doesn't even have to be creative. It can be just a business project. When you have that kind of collective camaraderie, that collaboration, which is so key to making good things, it's one of the best experiences you can have, I think, as a human being, to collaborate and make something with other people. And that's true definitely for the documentary. I had that exact experience making this film.
I think one of the beauties I like about Rocky is that I don't know many people who were really diehards. For the viewers, I'll give it away now. I played your dad's role 154 times, and a handful of the other roles. I never got to play Frank because I wasn't tall enough. I just never quite fit that role, even though I could do Tim's voice. But the fact that we knew who made the film, because we would shout their names, like Sue's to blend, she made the costumes, like a whole range of ways we would, don't squeeze the Charmin. Like there was every name up there became a thing to play with. Right. And the beauty of the Shadowcast in Houston, where I'm from, and I also saw that I lived in Fort Lauderdale, and they had their own very original punchlines that were all very local references you kind of had to live there to get. Right. But we really dissected the punchlines out of the script of the names we saw at the beginning. And as you know, films put all that stuff at the end now. And so Sue, we all know Sue's to blame because she made the costumes. But those people, I worked in the theater as a teen, and making theater instead of acting only transformed my life. For the last 2 years when I was in school, we were making sets, and all that goes into creating that is a whole nother world besides simply acting. Absolutely. And that's what the era, especially that your dad was working in, was kind of how it was done with movies like Rocky.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's a real thrill. For most of my life, I would do most of my projects and my work by myself when it came to DJing and producing and throwing events. So to work on a project where I'm really, my creative partner, who's the editor, producer, and writer of the documentary, Avner Shiloah. I mean, working with him, I've known him for 20 years, was a dream come true. And the producers, Adam Gibbs and Garrett Price, and just everyone involved in the making of it, all contributed so much, and that was the joy for it. I mean, all of this other stuff, the success of the documentary and the way that people have really embraced it is great, but it's just the gravy on top, because the real joy is it was in the making of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What made you decide, I really need to tie this together as a film because of your access, the fact that you were in the perfect position? What made that come together for you? When did you have that go off?
It's in the movie as well. I saw the comments underneath the YouTube clip of I'm Going Home, and each one was more poignant and heartfelt than the last. And I was like, oh, let's celebrate the fans and the people who have embraced Rocky so much. And then also when I took the idea to my creative partner Avner Shiloah, and I started talking to him about, it's not just about Rocky, it's really about my dad's personal journey as well.
Absolutely.
In so much as that it took him probably 30 years to come to terms with who he feels like he is, which is 70% male and 30% female.
I love that.
And really kind of like highlight the fact that a lot of people, when they first saw the movie Rocky, they became free to a degree to express themselves, and yet it took my dad 30 years. It's
interesting.
It's look up the word ironic, and that
that'd be the definition right there.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, and then it just kind of all snowballed very naturally. I had one meeting with the producers. That I told them all these stories. They felt like I was the right person to direct it, and then I realized I am the right person to direct it, because I know so much about it. Stuff that seems like just my old childhood memories are actually things that would mean a lot to people. So I was able to really to mine all those memories and give people what they would like, which is the history of Rocky and how it all came together and how it's lasted all this time. So yeah, it was. I'd
50
like to say
years.
It was,
I can't believe it's 50 years.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I think long after we're all dead, people will be performing Rocky Horror.
Oh yeah.
After we're long gone, so yeah, it was a.
I was 45 when I went to showing in Houston at a whole different theater, and I just saw it was on the marquee again. I went, oh well, we have to go. And my girlfriend at the time was like, okay, she hadn't been. And we walked up, and a 19-year-old kid walks up to me, which is the age I was when I was Riff.
Sure.
Have you ever been to Rocky before? You've arrived at a rather special night. It's one of the Masters of Fairs. And I just dropped right into character. And she goes, okay, yeah, you can go. But I didn't get any further involved in what they did. I literally stepped back on purpose and just enjoyed that a whole new generation was doing exactly what they thought should happen. Instead of, sometimes older people were like, well, let me show you what we think. No. This was beautiful to step away and just let the new cast do it. The same thing with Fort Lauderdale. There was a cast in the Riverside, which is a art theater, or like art house in Fort Lauderdale. And same thing, they had a whole nother way of doing it, and just stepping back and watching how organically they had a whole nother way of approaching the same thing we had done.
Well, the really nice thing about the documentary went into theaters at the end of September last year, 2025, and then back into theaters 2 weeks ago again. And one of the really nice things about it, which I probably didn't think of at the time, is that you have like 70-year-old Shadowcast members meeting teenage Shadowcast members and sharing exactly the same stories, 50 years apart. And so that's been a real added bonus for me in particular, because those stories are very similar, and what a great 3 to 4 generations of Rocky fans now.
What are some of the stories that really grabbed you the most? The ones that are kind of you just couldn't have conceived that such a movie would have this kind of effect on people. What were the powerful ones?
I mean, the one in particular, and I've probably said it a bunch of times in other interviews, is that at the end of our world premiere at South by Southwest last March, there at the end of the Q&A after the screening, older gentleman, came up to the front of the stage, and he was shaking, and he goes, I wanted to let you and your dad know that my wife and I met at Rocky 32 years ago, and my wife wanted to let you and your dad know that if it wasn't for Rocky Horror, she wouldn't be alive today. And so those stories come to me on a fairly regular basis, and you know, that it supports the whole reason of why I wanted to make the documentary in the first place. And so, yeah, they're powerful, and I think I never get tired of talking about it, because what an amazing thing to be a part of, something that has really helped people get through life, right? Because it can be so hard for all of us, no matter how we were raised or where we were brought up. Just emotionally, it can be very difficult. So to have something like Rocky that gives people a place where they do feel safe, it's a privilege just to be a very small part of that legacy.
Yeah, and I think that especially we're kind of entering an age of regression, which is why I felt this was a very important interview to have us talk about, and to really dive into how did we get to where, you know, now I got involved in the mid 80s, you know, but even then, you know, in Houston, we had basically what we would think of as MAGA rednecks. We just didn't say MAGA at the time. And they would harass us at 2 o'clock in the morning because half of our guys were walking around in fishnets, makeup. But it's still, you know, we seem to have been heading in a direction where acceptance was growing, and due to a lot of hard work in the LGBT community, you know, things did get better. Like I lived in the Montrose area of Houston for well over 10, 15 years. And communities grew because of the oppression of the 70s. And it seemed like we were getting somewhere, but we're slightly regressing. With the Trump administration, we're heavily regressing. But people need that.
It's a series of pendulum swings, right? So, but also let's realize that, you know, gay marriage became legal, right? So and a lot of that is, and then a lot of the backlash that we're feeling now, or currently living in, is probably as a result of that. So it's this kind of society trying to be, you know, people are weaponizing everything they can. All right, and so everyone who's the LGBTQ community is an easy target, you know. You know, immigrants are an easy target, you know. So let's target them. But you know, at the same time, I think generally society is better on the whole. But you wouldn't know it, because in the press every day we're being told that this is wrong, that's wrong, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. So it's hard to get a handle on where we are as a society, because who are we supposed to be listening to, right? So, you know, all you can do is try to live your life and be kind and empathetic to the people around you, and hopefully it rubs off on the rest of society. But it's sad that Rocky, and as Trixie Mattel says in the movie, you would hope that Rocky would be something of a relic right now, but maybe it's more relevant than ever.
I think it is.
So, you know, glad that Rocky can still be there for people. Sad that we seem to be taking a few steps back, but look, it's just the world we live in at the moment. I think on a day-to-day basis, I think things are getting better, but
some of it will continue to have that direction, I believe. I think it's going to continue to head to the direction of tolerance into acceptance, which I don't like the word tolerance, but I think we go from tolerance to acceptance.
Yeah.
And there's some things that the line keeps moving.
I mean, it's ridiculous. We all have gay members in our family. We all have, you know, for the most part, you know, different DNA in our history. You know, it's insane. You know, that we don't live these like kind of like sheltered lives where all this stuff isn't happening. It's all happening. So yeah, I mean, it's exhausting that that people can't be more open-minded. To be honest,
Right.
you know.
Well, before we get to the Broadway, because I had just seen some of this our new Frank, who's an amazing actor. I want to talk about two eras, especially. I'm going to shoot down one because it was so funny when it came out on like VHS, and I actually have the Sal Piro audience participation album, and I have all that stuff. But when it came out on VHS and people could watch it at home, all of us in the theater went, "How are you going to watch it at home?" We could relate to the idea of not being in the theater to do this. Well, you can stand in front of your TV and do all the. How are you going to do it at home? So it was a little bit of amongst the purists, we weren't really interested. But then there was another era about a decade ago, where I think NBC, I forget who debuted, basically the rebirth of Rocky.
Oh, you mean the 2016 remake that was?
Yeah, the 2016. It's 10 years. Yeah, wow. Yeah, 2016. Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw it, so I can't.
Mostly I didn't either, although it is. I think we were always stuck that Tim was always going to be Frank, and your dad was always Riff.
No, look, and that's another thing that people argue about. He's no Tim, or they changed this or they did that.
Right.
I mean, of course you're going to have, when you have a reinvention and you have someone else's creative ideas, it's always going to change.
Right.
And we all have, like, I don't like some of the people that got killed off in Game of Thrones. What am I going to do about that?
Right.
Who am I going to shout at for that? Like, I can't change it. You still have, no one's taking away the original movie. They're not deleting it and replacing it with something else.
Right.
Love the versions that you love. If you're enjoying it, enjoying it. I can't. It's nice to have these arguments with your friends. You're like, oh, well, I like this Star Wars over that Star Wars. That's kind of fun. But to get all riled up about it and make public declarations or write articles or do a video blog where you hate this and you hate that, I don't know. It just seems like
I think there's a paid industry for that too. There's actually a paid industry that gets paid to write articles to complain about stuff in pop culture that's basically
and I guess,
useless.
I guess if it's funny and it's lighthearted and they're not taking themselves too seriously about it, and they're saying, I do prefer this, I don't, it's fine, but to stand up on your high horse and get all flustered about it, it just seems like there should be way better ways to spend our time. But
I don't actually know the trivia of this. Where was the film, the original film, all created? What sets and all that? Where was that done?
It was done at Bray Studios down in I think it's near Windsor or something, just like an hour or two outside of London, because they had the house, which was used in a lot of Hammer horror movies, which is like the Roger Corman movies in the 70s. And then Bray Studios was right next door, so it was easy for them to go from one to the other, and it suited their needs as well. Like I think it added to the kind of B movie effect that they were going for.
So I think that's one thing. If I were to be a purist, it'd be like if you get too sophisticated in things, as long as you tell a story, I think you're always safe. But if you get too sophisticated, those of us who kind of like the basically B movie level, like but it's now very Hollywood, and we're moving that way with a bunch of people who like to make things with AI and digital effects.
I think what was interesting about Jim Sharman, and he says it in the movie, some of the B movie stuff that's in the movie was because they were on a B movie picture budget, but some of them were on purpose because they wanted it to look bad. Like I think some of the effects in it, he's like, no, the effects are too good. We've got to make them really bad.
Exactly.
And so people weren't unsure of it. It was an homage and a parody all at the same time of 50s movies and rock and roll. But with this kind of weird 70s influence. So, you never know how things are going to quite hit, right? You never know if the timing is going to be right. You could be a year too early, you could be a year too late. But Rocky hit exactly the right time of glam rock, you know, hippies and all the rest of it. Everything that went into that, just pre-punk. It was, yeah. So the timing of it could not have been better.
So let's move briefly to the Broadway presentation, because I've seen parts of it and it's just really great. Number one, I like that Frank's been reinvented as basically like this rock star, you know, and
yeah, I mean, it's I saw it and I think it's a great production for Broadway. Broadway has its own kind of set of rules and things that the Broadway audience have things they like, and the ways they like shows to be produced and made. And so I think it's a great retelling for Broadway. It's big, it's brash, there's lots of razzle dazzle. Luke's voice is excellent, you know, and he has some nice power to him in his performance, and I really think it anchors the whole show as it should. I mean, Frank-N-Furter is an iconic character, so you have to have someone who's gonna bring that kind of masculine energy, but with a real feminine sensibility. And I think Luke does a great job.
What has been the response to the documentary itself now that you have this out? Because it came out April 26th, I think.
Yeah, that's when it came out into theaters again. It's going to go on VOD on June 2nd. So it's been a slightly long process. We've had 2 theatrical releases, which is strange for a documentary, and then the VOD will expand it as well. But I mean, the response from the audiences when I've seen it in theaters have been way more than I ever imagined. There's a lot. Yeah. There's cheering. There's laughing. There's crying towards the end, which I never really expected. That much of, and then tremendous reviews. I think it's in the top 200 of all time documentaries on Letterboxd, which is amazing. You know, to be associated with other amazing documentaries that I've loved over the years, from Hoop Dreams to The Kid Stays in the Picture and all this stuff. It's a real thrill to be, you know, anywhere close to those films.
How was your process to get this all together? What did you have to do that was like the work part of?
I mean, it's just getting the money together, really. Like my producers, you know, funded the first shoot to New Zealand, and then timing played a big part, because we wanted to get Lou, who's like 93, Tim Curry, who's a little bit. You know, he had a stroke, so he's been dealing with that. You know, just there was some urgency to get these people on camera and get their stories down. But, you know, money all the way was an issue, because I think there was some reticence, especially to fund things that were LGBTQ friendly, because of the kind of the regression of our society. So that did affect us. So that has been a struggle, but you know, it's getting seen by people, and the response is great. The response is even great from people who don't know much about Rocky. In fact, some of those are the most pleasing responses I get, because if you make a movie which appeals to people who know very little about Rocky, then you've done your job, and that seems to be the case.
I'm going to mention one that's a former soldier here, British. He's a Brit, but he's a Ukrainian soldier. Sean Penner was in captivity for the first part of the war here in Ukraine in 2022. God. And when I told him we were doing this, he blew up. The best possible way. He gushed, and he says, "You know,
have you seen the documentary yet?"
Not the documentary. We're going to try to do an airing here. I told him that. I said we should do one here, because for our viewers, we actually had an airing of Rocky here in war, October 2024 at Kinotheater Zhovten, which is, you know, basically the theater, Yellow Theater. And I missed it. It was part of America House produced it, and they were doing about American films, or Western films. It's really not really an American film, but Western films. And the documentary needs to go with it so that the same thing happens here. And Sean was very great. So there's a whole range of people. If you just kind of reach out and you go, what do you think of this? And you'll see reactions from people that tell how wide the movie reached, and also the documentary will reach when they get a chance to see it. Yeah, it's not just the LGBT community. It's a range of people who were moved by us and whose personal lives were affected by it. So the documentary is very invaluable.
Oh, thank you. I think it was always one of my dreams is that it would play as a double feature with Rocky.
Absolutely.
So that when you're finished watching the documentary, you want nothing more than to put on the soundtrack, go see the stage play, or go watch the movie. And so hopefully, because Rocky is evergreen, hopefully the documentary will be there to support it and give people a real understanding of the deep and lasting cultural impact of it.
Right. I'd even be willing to play your dad's role for the first time in forever here in a shadow cast in Kyiv for doing that. Because I think that, that's actually how I presented it to some friends here. I said, you know what, we need to do the documentary and then do a late night showing. And bring it together, and to have it happen during war is a form of resistance that is off the charts.
That would be great. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to do like a live Q&A Zoom,
sure, yeah,
like either in between the screenings or after the screenings, I'd be more than happy to do that. So
let's talk about a few people who I think are very special, like Lil Nell and Tim and others that are precious to our community. And that go to these events, like when you see Barry Bostwick on stage and others who, they love the community too. Who are tell me some of those stories that you know from these kind of these fan events. I don't know if they're like Comic-Con. I'm not where is it popular? Where do these types of events happen where we get to see some of these legends?
Well, they do a live screening with the shadow cast, and then they usually have Pat, Nell, or Barry come out after the screening of Rocky Horror Picture Show, and they'll do a Q&A on stage. And so that's kind of been, they do a tour every like September, October.
Nice.
In the States. They just did one in England. It's a great chance for the fans to interact with some key cast members. Tim does the odd one here and there, but it's mainly those three which are doing the lion's share of the appearances.
Right. Wow. I think the fans give them a boost, much like I said about Comic-Con. I don't really go to Comic-Con, things like that, but there's this connection between folks who, like you said, their lives have been changed, and a chance to thank someone in person that, maybe they even were, someone dressed up as Brad, or and they get to finally stand in front of Barry Bostwick and say, hey, I got to be you.
Yeah, they're so important. The first thing that people want to do is share their stories about when they first saw Rocky Horror. Where it usually involves jumping out of their bedroom window with their Rocky clothes underneath their regular clothes, jumping in their friend's car, and telling their parents that they're staying at their friend's house. That's like, I get that, and I welcome it and embrace it, because the expressions and the joy on people's faces when they're telling me their first Rocky story, it's much like when they had their first kiss, or when they actually lost their real virginity and not their Rocky virginity. It's that.
I will say it ties into those things for me. Without Rocky, I don't think that would have happened so quickly, but it happened.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
God bless Linda. Anyway, I actually skipped one night. I'll tell the audience this. I might as well. You're here. I skipped a Saturday night showing because of a Friday night kiss. And they're like, "You skipped Riff." I said, "Did you see her?"
Yeah, exactly.
She was a cross between Jessica Rabbit and Princess Diana. So how was I going to resist?
That sounds amazing.
But being Riff was very good for my life. There's something about it also, I think, that's very important, is that when other films like what was it, Repo Man, there's another film that tried to do this. There's some other shadow cast that tried to sort of derive a little bit from that. Have you interacted with any of those audiences, or you're at least aware of that? Yeah.
Funny enough, I got interviewed by a guy called Spooky Dan Walker, and I think he's doing a documentary about Repo Man or the Repo Opera or something.
I went to one of those actually.
Yeah, so I think that I'm only a little bit aware of that stuff. But it makes sense because they're as much as everyone likes Rocky, then sure there's I know they do a shock treatment shadow cast performance sometimes. I know they do what's it called? They do The Room. I've people do a shadow cast of The Room, which
I remember that movie.
Yeah, the very odd one, movie which is unintentionally hilarious. They made that. They made that. James Franco made that movie, The Disaster Artist.
That's right. That's right. Oh yeah, I saw that.
I love. Yeah. So yeah, there are a few other shadow cast things, but I'm super involved or know too much about them.
I want to talk a little bit about your relationship with your dad as a result of the film. What did that? How? Two parts of it. Most people when they do a documentary, they're not doing a documentary about their father. They're doing it about someone distant. And this is your first documentary, so you might not have a comparative. But what was that like for you to do that, and then how has it affected your relationship?
I think the nice thing, my dad said this the other day in an interview, that someone asked him, like, when did you become aware of the impact that Rocky was having on its fans? And I think, he learned quite a bit from the documentary, to be honest. Okay. I mean, it's just layers, isn't it? As he goes, at the first, 20, 30 years, he's thinking, well, people like this just because it's fun. And then those stories start to come to him like, oh, Rocky changed my life. But I think he didn't pay it much attention because he feels like that it was written by a 13-year-old. And how could something written by a 13-year-old have any substance or be muscular theater like in the vein of Arthur Miller or Tennessee Williams?
Amen.
It's juvenile, but the impact on it is as profound or more profound than Death of a Salesman, all of these things. Not that they're great works of art which we love and appreciate, but they don't seem to have affected the general public the way that Rocky has. So I think when he sees the documentary, when he's watched it, and then people tell him about it, he's like, I think it's finally dawning on him, but he doesn't know what to do with it either. You can't sit in that feeling of saving someone's life through your work of art for too long. It becomes overwhelming if you do. But he's very, very happy that it's become an inclusive place for people to find each other and feel like they're not alone. He's very, very happy about it.
I've worked with celebrities for about nearly 30 years, professionally 27 years in my media company. And one of the things I noticed with a lot of the better ones, meaning like good humans, is that there's a side of them that has to sort of push it away. They'll listen to it, like in person they won't. Everything's very natural. But inside they have to push away because it becomes very overwhelming to have to bear that burden, or at least maybe not even the word burden, but bear that emotion that someone else has gone through such a transformation that was almost unintended. I'm just being a musician. I'm just being a painter. I'm just being a filmmaker. And then you find someone like, I'm alive because of you.
Yeah. It completely unintended. And I think if there was any intent in that would have come through and it would have rung hollow and false. And I think it's because there was none of that. It wasn't trying to be worthy. It wasn't trying to comment on social, gender, identity. It wasn't doing any of that. It was created just to have fun. And the result of that is something that was completely unintended. It was just not even a shred of that in his thought process when he was making it. And I think that contributed to the movement, you would say. Yeah.
I saw Shock Treatment actually on HBO before I saw Rocky because it was a very interesting film. I didn't quite know what to do with it. I had to see it again later. I still didn't quite know what to do with it, but at least I had been a little bit initiated. Tell me some of the things your dad did that you think are just really cool, or even more so, some of the cult level stuff, like Dark City is one. Some stuff that you know that if someone stops and goes, yeah, that's now that I think about Phineas and Herb, oh yeah. What are some of the cool stuff?
Well, talking about shock treatment, I think one of the amazing things about shock treatment is that my dad foreshadowed the whole explosion of reality TV, and not just reality TV, but just the influencer culture. I mean, Jessica Harper, who plays Janet in Shock Treatment, she sings a song called "Me, Me, Me," and that's influencer culture.
Very much so.
They Brad and Janet get thrown inside this TV show that's all about therapy called Marriage Maze. Basically foreshadowing all of this online therapy that we've been exposed to over the last 5 to 6 years.
Oh my God.
And so, yeah, he's able to see things that other people can't see, and he downplays his intelligence, but he was so prescient when it came to all of that stuff. I mean, Shock Treatment, the story is a bit garbled, and the songs are great in it.
Right.
But yeah, his ability to see a world that was 20 to 30 years coming down the line is something that I'm really impressed by.
Sure.
So yeah, he has his worldview, and I think it's usually spot on the money. But then he's able to see things that other people can't. So that's what I'm really quite impressed about.
Well, I want to dive into you a little bit, and thank you for so far for where we've been with the big project that is a major accomplishment. Tell me a little bit about your career. I know you've done a lot of work, like DJ work. Just run me through some of the really creative process that you have, because you're truly a very expansive, almost Renaissance creator in my view.
Well, it's nice of you to say. I feel like all of the stuff that I've done has had fairly middling results. Like when I graduated from college in '94. I went back to London after college. I did a small internship out here at this company called Full Moon Entertainment. They made a lot of B movies, like what did they do? Puppet Master and a few of those things. And then I came back to London and started a record label with an old classmate, Musa Clark. We put out about 10 tracks, and then that went away. Then I opened a record shop in Camden with Justin Rushmore. It was called Vinyl Addiction. It was underneath a bar called Bar Vinyl. It was London's first record shop, DJ, bar, restaurant. And then after about 2 years of that, I opened up a recording studio and started recording under the name of Linus, and had, again, like some decent success with that. Did about 7 releases and toured around the world DJing, and then moved to New York. Then moved to Barcelona to make an album, which didn't do very well. There's some good tracks on it, but never did what I wanted it to do. Then I moved to Vancouver and worked for a company called Network Entertainment. We produced a documentary called Facing Ali, which was featured on 10 fighters who fought Ali and telling Ali's story, but through their eyes. That was shortlisted for Best Documentary at the Academy Awards. And then worked on other projects for them until I moved to Japan with my ex-wife, and raised our little boy at the time. Then moved to LA because we were only in Japan for like a year, and did an album with Amy White. It was called Linus and Amy, The Black Below, which was kind of like a slightly more techno-y version of Massive Attack. I love Massive Attack. That was kind of how that went. And then again, got some nice reviews and stuff, but never really took off. And then I started in 2017. I started throwing underground techno parties in LA, downtown LA, at warehouses there. I threw about 25 parties over the course of 2 to 3 years. Had 30 people at the first event, and then 1,200 at the last. Mm-hmm. And then the pandemic came, and it washed away all of the work I'd been doing for the previous 3 years. And when we came out of the pandemic, I was like, I do not have the energy to start it all up again. I'd lost the drive, because it took a tremendous amount of work to do those parties, and then came up with the idea for the documentary. So it's been a very haphazard career. I don't even know if I would call it a career. I would say it's a haphazard life.
Yeah.
But a
friend of mine the other day, when I said something about vacation or how I live, I said, I've never taken a vacation. What is vacation? What are these words? I don't know these words. I just work. I create. And he goes, oh, so you don't have a job or a career. You have a vocation.
Right.
I just do creative. I don't really turn an on-off switch on it. If I wanted to go film, I'll go film. If I want to go photograph, I go photograph. If I want to play guitar, I'm going to play guitar. Nice. And that sounds like what you're doing.
Yeah, it is. I'm hoping to build on the success of the documentary. I've got a number of projects that I'm trying to develop now. So we're hoping that one or two of those get started, so I can continue this. So it's a very transitional period right now for me. So fingers crossed it all works out.
Well, I think it's fantastic that not only did you get it finished, you got it out there. Not only did you get it out there, they love it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a nice achievement, but I can't rest on my laurels, because that would be uncomfortable. I prefer a bed. I have to try and keep this new career going. So I'm hoping it all works out.
What has been the when it comes to the kind of business side of trying to get it into on demand and all those areas? We're in a very different era. Things are changing, where studios are bought and purchased in big mergers. Yeah. How is that affecting how you're getting this done?
I mean, at every degree, you would have hoped that someone would have picked it up right after South by Southwest, but that didn't happen. So we had to pivot and release it into theaters ourselves, which was really nice, and I loved that experience. And then a company called Magenta Light Studios picked it up again even after it had gone into theaters. They were like, no, we think that this is an evergreen project because Rocky is evergreen. And so working with them has been delightful. Been working with a executive over there called Wheezy Melanson, and she's been a real champion of the documentary, and we hope to make some noise when it goes on streaming on June 2nd. So yeah, hopefully just keep this train moving and keep getting it across to people, because I think it's really nice to have a movie which is uplifting, and this documentary is definitely that. So, so that's just a real pleasure for when people see it. They just they've been watching it multiple times. Probably not as many times as Rocky, but definitely going back to it, because there's a lot of joy and love in the documentary, and it ends on a really high note. The last half hour of the documentary is, I can watch it over and over again with an audience, because it really lands. So that's been a real pleasure for me.
Man, I cannot wait. I'm like, I really look forward to it, because I know the movie so well. I know it frame to frame. It's been a while since I've actually seen the movie itself, Rocky itself, but I can't wait to see how you've told about our community that helped really keep this thing alive.
Yeah.
But there's a really big thought I have in my head about filmmakers, young filmmakers, or any age filmmaker. I'm in my 50s I'm working on a documentary about Ukrainian Marines, and I'm filming with actually the wife of the Marines holding the script, and I'm like, it's 3 people sitting in a room just doing it ourselves. And I have an infinite amount of inspirations, but what would you say to someone who's like getting into filmmaking and they're like, I don't know if I even am good at this? What's your word of advice now that you've completed this? What do you feel that needs to be said to someone in that role?
The most important takeaway I have is that obviously the first thing would be, make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that you love to work with, right? That's the first thing. And the second thing would be is don't be so precious in the edit. Make choices that make the overall piece really sing. Because, there's that phrase, kill your darlings, right? So, you fall in love with this 5-minute segment, but it throws off the rhythm, the timing of the film, and then it's distracting and you've lost people's attention. I think one of the big things for me is that I really wanted to grab people's attention and hold it the whole way through. And as a result, I think some people say, oh, I wish we could have had more Shadowcast stuff. I wish we could have more with your dad. And I sometimes feel the same way. I'm like, I really would have liked a bit more here and there. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the thing as a whole, its own thing. And don't be so precious. I think the shorthand that my creative partner and I had, because we'd known each other so long, was really good, because it did become a case of sometimes the loudest voice in the room wins, because that's how you're feeling and passionate about it. But it wasn't a problem for us. We talk to each other like we're brothers. So, we were okay. If he's speaking this loudly about this segment, it obviously means something, and I have to respect that. So, getting someone you can collaborate with, who can be objective, and you can have a shorthand with, is a real benefit. Obviously, you want to have a vision, but you have to be open to other ideas and suggestions. Otherwise, it's not going to be as good. It just won't be as good. And that goes for everyone, from the Chris Nolans to the Spielbergs. They didn't make this.
People in the recording studio who are not making films have to go through the same thing. Some track and cut. I mean, how many albums now from the legends have so many takes of like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd? Just if you just go really dig around in the record shops, there's did you get this version? Yeah, well, that's got like every alternate take of Miles Davis and John Coltrane and stuff you didn't get to hear in the original that was also done in studio that was equally badass. Someone just had to make a decision which one to go with.
Yeah, you have to just have a vision and be open to any suggestions and be open, to be honest, be open to the things that don't work out. There were many times where we were like, we really wanted this thing to happen on this date, and it didn't happen, and then something better came along. So embrace. Sometimes you almost want some challenging things to come along, because without them, you wouldn't have the good things that follow. And I think it's true not just for the creative process, but I think it's true for life. Challenges shape us and change us and make us what's the word I'm looking for? I guess it's malleable. I guess, just be, you have to be like Bruce Lee says, go be water, be
like water.
Be like water,
Absolutely. And again, the beauty of digital is that like a DVD version can have like the stuff that went on the cutting room floor that's too cool, the extras. And people will get Easter egg like that.
Unfortunately, we didn't get that together for the DVD and Blu-ray release, which is happening at the same time, which is a real shame. I'm kind of frustrated about that. But there'll
be the 25th anniversary of Strange Journey that's going to have the stuff we didn't get in the first version, right?
Potentially.
As we say, God willing. Hey, brother, I am honored to have this conversation with someone who not only did you get to capture something as part of a community I basically have survived because of, but as a creator, I like when creative people get the job done, get something done, and that they feel good, that the audience really well received it, and you did. People were really speaking up and saying good things about it, and that means you did your job, man.
I think so. I thank you. And I Trixie Mattel said in the Q&A that we did with her a couple of weeks ago, she said, the people who play the video game The Sims the most hate The Sims. And the people who watch RuPaul's Drag Race hate RuPaul's Drag Race. So they're often the harshest critics. And so to have the response be really genuine and honest, that they like it, has been very, very pleasing. I think obviously there's a lot of goodwill because I'm directing it, so they know it's coming from the right place. But you know, the reviews have been overwhelmingly positive. I mean, I literally think I've read maybe one negative review, like over the last whatever 14 months, 16 months. Right. So yeah, I mean, I can't ask for anything better. So thank you for appreciating it.
Hey, thank you right back. Hey, Linus, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk again because I promise you, I'm going to double down on getting an airing here in Kyiv with our theater community. I happen to know some people. I've been here in 4 years of war, and not only did I get to meet soldiers, but I got to meet musicians, filmmakers, and filmmaking here is a big deal. So
we'll make it easy
showing Western film is a big deal because everyone here really likes. I mean, they know some of these things better than we do, and but that's our film. Right. So it'd be great, and we'd definitely love to have you here.
Right. All right. Well, we'll make it easy for you when it comes to when you get a date for screening the double feature. We'll try to make it happen.
Well, thank you, brother.
Awesome. Cheers, Chris. Been lovely chatting to you.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
Master, we have a visitor.
Master, Rocky has broken his chains and vanished. The new playmate is loose and somewhere in the castle grounds. Magenta has just released the dogs.
You are fortunate, for tonight is the night. I can explain.
Slowly, it's too nice a jump to rush.
Master, the answer was there all the time.
Master.
There are those who say that life is an illusion, and that reality is simply a figment of the imagination.
How sentimental.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Good evening, friends. Welcome back. Did you enjoy the interview with Linus? Linus O'Brien is a great filmmaker. The job was fantastic. What do you think?
Well,
so, I'll tell you what. I could play another piece of music, but I know that, like me, you probably want to see the man of the hour, right? Well, let me say this. Richard O'Brien accidentally changed a lot of lives. And if you had asked me a few months ago, would I be doing an interview like this? I couldn't have perceived that it was going to happen. As you know, I cover war. I've been covering the war for over 1,500 days. It's not over. In fact, backstory is, while planning the first interview with Linus, I had to delay the interview by a day because we had a major terror attack. Linus, being super pro, awesome human being, said no problem. And me being how I am with you guys, next day, ready to go, ja tove. And we got it done. Same thing, right? Last night into today, a lot of rewriting to get done. As you see, I had to do a little decorating here. You know, there's the new screens here, as you see in the wall. Got some 4 screens here, so you can see some of the other events that are happening. Maybe in time they'll change. You know, little designing, little lighting, some cuts, some edits, something to make it nice for you. But in all seriousness, you're going to hear something in the interview that, well, it kind of blew me away, and it's a it's a big deal. It's
How sentimental.
It's an honor to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard O'Brien, the master creator of the Rocky Horror Show, otherwise known as Riff Raff. Thank you for joining us tonight on The Wiretap.
Was about he wasn't very old. He was about 7, I think, at the time, and Rocky had just broken in America, the movie.
Right.
But I had been unaware. I had been kind of slightly unaware of this moment, you see.
Right.
And he was. I went down to the pool and said, "Come on, darling boy, it's time to go home. Get out the pool. We've got to get dressed." And as I turned around and walked back to the room, there was a couple, American couple, in the pool, and the woman turned to her husband. She went, "Riff Raff." I thought, I wonder where this is coming from.
I think perhaps you better both come inside.
Fleeting madness takes its toll.
I was in the technical theater. I was in theater, and then I got really into technical theater, and I had to quit school because of a lot of abuse at home. And this is a story of a lot of people that were affected by your work. And my theater friends basically called up and said, "Will you come to see Rocky?" And I said, "What's Rocky?" A boxing film or something, you know. And it was the best choice of my life, because immediately the circle that kept me comfort in school was the same circle that gave me the safe space for the few years that I needed to make changes in real life.
Excellent.
So being able to play this one particular character 154 times, essentially embodying the character, owning the character no less, territorially owning the character no less. It changed a lot of things. I didn't know affected me until kind of this new era when your son created this great film. And I thought it did have an impact. It really did make a difference to a lot of people for an amazing amount of reasons. So from my heart to you, I thank you profoundly.
Yes. Well, I'm terribly grateful. Of course, none of this was ever intended.
Right.
And it really is, it's difficult for me to get my head around, because it is the sort of musical that was written in a 13-year-old boy's bedroom, isn't it? It's
right.
He's lucky. I'm lucky. We're all lucky.
It's not a great piece of work. It is a childish, I don't know, teenage kind of world, and it was only supposed to be 3 weeks fun, and that's the absolute truth. We all went into it, we're going to have 3 weeks fun with this, and the 3 weeks turned into 5 weeks on that original run, and then it ran for 7 years in London. In the meantime, the film had opened and bombed, and then opened again and did the midnight screenings, and it was here we are 50 years later. And it is extraordinary, really. It is quite extraordinary because, as I say, it just wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be an entertainment, a light, a musical comedy.
Well, nice.
The irony is that it started at the Royal Court Theatre. The Royal Court Theatre was the English stage company, and they'd taken over that theatre in the early 50s, I think about 1952, to encourage new writing for the theatre, muscular writing for the theatre that would have social impact. And they didn't like our piece. They never really have ever liked our piece.
They didn't like me! They never liked me!
Right.
Because it wasn't what they were about, but yet it's the only piece that ever has anything that's come out of there that really actually fulfills their remit. And it embarrasses them because it shouldn't be this way. And we really have had, so we can definitely say with our hands firmly on our heart, it really has had social impact. And that's exactly what that English stage company was set up to produce. And yet they're in a kind of state of, but unease about the whole thing. That embarrassing. I was with Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins, sure. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, we were having a chat together because Bob and I started at the Royal Court as well, both doing Sam Shepard plays as it happens. And I said, but the odd thing is because look back in anger is the biggest other next to Rocky is the biggest known, the best known title ever to come out of this Royal Court Theatre. And I said, well, the thing is, you see, I said, it's even better, it's done better, performed more than Look Back in Anger. And that was a sacred cow. Look Back in Anger is a sacred cow. Right. And he looked at me and he went, well, it's not a very good play, is it, Richard? And I looked around, I thought, whoops, are you allowed to say that out loud? I don't think so.
Right. But, I think this really kind of brings about what's so magical about Rocky is that you had a moment, if I understand from the documentary, which we're going to come to, this great work your son did, where when Dori Hartley was in the middle of the crowd and the spotlight goes to her and your character leapt out into the audience, everything changed. So would you talk a little bit about the path from...
Well, no, that moment was at Long Island, wasn't it? I think, and it was the first time I'd have been aware of a shadow cast or of the fan club, in fact.
I'd just like to say thank you very much for coming tonight. And thank you for all being completely insane.
When was your first experience seeing it with a crowd?
I suppose the first time seeing it at Long Island, there was a convention in a big hall, and there were, I would think, about at least 1,000 people there. And we all went on stage and did a Q&A with the audience. And then they showed the movie on a big stage, and there was a lot of space in front of it. And a girl called Dori Hartley was a Frank-N-Furter impersonator. And when it got to that I'm going home moment, she looked exactly like him, the makeup perfect, and she sat on the front of the stage. Someone had put a spotlight on her, and it was astonishing because there was the movie up there with Tim singing I'm Going Home and doing this with the eye makeup. And there's a real live person in a bright spotlight doing the same movements. And her silhouette was exactly the same size as Frank-N-Furter. And the audience was singing the refrains. And you go, this is theatre at its very best. We couldn't have rehearsed and organized this. This is a spontaneous moment where live theatre and audience, live audience and cinema have come together like that in a way that I've never seen before. It was quite remarkable.
Let's bridge the gap between you going into the theater for the first time you ever thought to even be an actor, to Dori being there in front of you as one of your characters. How did you decide one day, I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to go into the stage and I'm going to learn the bard and I'm going to learn the method, etc.? How did that happen for you?
I was lucky that I was born when I was. The 1960s, when both in America and Great Britain were times of great social change. Again, working class heroes had happened, and you didn't have to wear a suit and tie and go to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art to be an actor any longer. The side door to the theatre had opened, and ordinary common folk were now allowed to audition and play roles, and working class heroes and what they're called kitchen sink dramas. Out of that, Albert Finney.
Sure, the great Albert Finney.
Think of a lot of his contemporaries. He was one of the first, you see, working class boys now allowed to perform and be actors, and in legitimate theatre. I mean, heavy duty, Royal Shakespeare and all the rest of it. It was a great time, and I was there.
That's
and
amazing.
So getting into the theatre, I like you. If I was unemployed, I pumped gas, I cleaned people's houses, I did all that. I was a
yeah. I worked at a bike shop and then I played Riff.
I did all that, but I also did what you did. You see, I used to work backstage in the theatre and be there every night, watching people perform on stage. I worked in every except for the laundry, the wardrobe. I never worked in the wardrobe, but I worked in electrics and the flies. I did every job. Yeah. And that's all I ever wanted to do, and all where I wanted to be. I was very lucky. I got into a production in 1969, a production of Gulliver's Travels. It was a Christmas production, and it was the full gamut. It wasn't just Lilliput. We went to Brobdingnag and the Island of Death and the Laputa space station. We did the whole book. And it was wonderful. It was the whole cast together, no stars, and that was lovely. And there I met a choreographer, a Japanese Canadian choreographer called David Taguri, who was looking for people to go into a tour of hair around Great Britain. I got into that, and that was it really. And everything started to kick off. So that's how I got into it, and also rode horses in movies in the area. And so I got my equity card back in the early 60s, before I went to the theatre, moved to the theatre. And I just love it. I just love it. I love the lights going down. I love the hush that takes over the audience. The lights come down and the curtain's just about to go out, and people lean forward in their seats. They don't know they're doing it. But the expectation of what's coming, and I just adore storytelling. We always have, haven't we, as human beings? Around the campfire, telling about the day's journey, the day's hunt. Probably is one of the first moments of theatre we ever shared as human beings.
Yeah, and so I think it as there's something about the role of interactivity for performance, especially like I said, moving into the area where Shadowcast came out and the whole story became very 3D. The characters are now in the audience. The people participating back and forth and shouting back at the characters. It took over your production later, but then people took on their own lives, their own casting, their own costumes, and 50 years later, they're still doing it. I mean, I remember going to a show. I'm 56 now, so it was about 10 years ago, and I walked up and I'm getting asked if I've ever been to Rocky. And immediately I had to assume your voice. You've arrived on a rather special night. It's one of the Masters Affairs. And they immediately, okay, you could go now. But it was beautiful. And also, I didn't take over the production emotionally, like some senior person who goes, well, let me show you how to do this. I enjoyed a new group of people, like a young man in Fort Lauderdale named Josh was playing your character. And I will never forget Josh, because I got to kind of course, evaluate whether he was doing it the way I thought it should be done. And then he was his own incarnation of Riff. He was his own way of playing it, and everyone else in the cast was that way. And And so I think it's fantastic that it's that way, you know?
Yes, I'm glad as an actor that I don't actually have to confront a noisy audience any longer. You know, it's in New York, as you know, it's just opened, and they had some serious kind of problems with, you know, the audience taking over the room in the evening and in a way spoiling it, which is a shame.
Sure.
But I'm glad I haven't had to deal with it. I've played the narrator from time to time, but because I am the author, I don't get a lot of stick, because most of the narrators we've had in the live shows have come from another arena. They've been on television, morning television or whatever, and so they come with a background that the audience know about, and they get a lot of stick that way. You see, you know, if they're a cook, for instance, they'll get a lot of nonsense thrown at them about that. I didn't have to confront that as the author, and so I was able to keep, you know, things to a minimum, and not engage too much, and the more seriously it's ever played, the funnier it becomes.
Oh yeah.
It should never be played for comedy. It should really be played as one of the most serious plays ever written.
Right.
And then by default, it becomes funny.
Everything leaves out. Right. I think that jumping from Charles Gray to Rachel Dratch is a beautiful way of seeing that evolve in the narrative alone. Because when I see her doing those clips that are popping up all over social media now, it's like, okay,
but you see, rock is not so much a part of writing; it's a collection of themes, and the narrator is every line I wrote for the narrator, I wrote for a man called Edgar Lustgarten. Even though he wasn't going to play the part, because he was a narrator, he was a man that looked a bit like a disheveled bloodhound. And wore baggy suits, and he was a barrister, and he dramatized some of the tales from the New Scotland Yard and the Old Bailey, and used to read them on radio, and then moved to film in the early 50s, British film, and he had his delivery was bloodhound as well. And so every line I wrote as if it was going to be him speaking these lines, you see.
I would like, if I may...
You may not. Where?
On a strange journey.
Brilliant.
And it was just yet another theme that I'd grabbed and put into the place, like the adverts, the Charles Atlas advert. I mean, that's a reference that young people today, won't have any idea.
Yeah, all these things are gone, right?
He carries the Charles Atlas seal of approval.
A weakling weighing 98 pounds.
Yeah, some of those references are lost, but it'll transcend in a different way. Yeah.
I know one of the wonderful things about it is that all those people that I did mention drop into their whatever happened to Fay Ray. Fay Ray sent Tim a card when he opened it on the Roxy. That was terribly nice. I know that Steve Reeves was very pleased to have his name mentioned. Jeanette Scott, I actually met at the BBC. She said, "Oh my goodness me, you've immortalised me." You know? I said, "How lovely is that?" And I know that God bless Lily Sincere. Lily Sincere was a vaudeville artist, and I had a book sent to me by an American journalist writer who was it was a book on American vaudeville. And she had a section, and she told me that she was incredibly delighted to have had her name included in the piece. And that's lovely, isn't it? It is lovely.
Well, I think it's beautiful, because what you did with their work is much like we want to do with your work and their work, is to just kind of put them in a place where it showed what the effect was on you. And I'm also of an era where we would have late night movies that they don't really have that now, because you have the 24-hour cycle of cable. And in fact, I saw shock treatment before I saw Rocky because HBO would air it, late at night, right? But before, without cable television alone, we would have strange late night movies that would be shown, only at late night because they were just strange enough that was probably the one place you could put them. And for kids that would stay up, this was it.
Yeah. Yes. In fact, that's one of the reasons I wrote it, because that was very, television in those days in 1970, 71, 72, 73 used to shut down at midnight.
Right,
and they knew that the only people watching it after 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night were going to be insomniacs, drunks, and people like myself. And so those sort of movies went on.
The wonderful misfits. So I have an existential batch of questions. Since you're the creator, who was my father? As Riff, if I'm Riff Raff, where do I come from?
Riff Raff is Frank-N-Furter, the old queen of Transylvania, the planet, is the mother of Frank-N-Furter, and Riff Raff is in the military. He was sent down to watch over Guido, be there, and that was he and his sister. They were supposed to be looking out for Frank because he was troublesome, and that was their job. The nice thing about the Igor character, which he really is based upon, isn't he? Is that resentment is always watchable, and we like to see people driven by resentment and anger. And one of the lovely things was that Tim, being such a handsome chap and so good at the part of the role, it was very easy for me, skinnier middle me, and Igor me, to be completely resentful. If he's having a great time, I did all the work. I built the body. It was me. I did all
I've made a career out of being that guy, my friend. Instead of being on stage, I like working behind the artists, and then when they get all the glory, you get that little moment. Yeah, sure, of course, it was great. How do you think that Frank, especially, I still think that really Tim's emergence as Frank is still going to be one of the most all-time great entries in film ever. The character itself.
He stepped up, didn't he? Big time, and it was, and of course he wasn't as glamorous when we were on stage. It was a lot more German expressionistic, ghoulish makeup and that kind of thing. As when we got to the movie, Frank-N-Furter became slightly more glamorous. Makeup became more glamorous, and the frocks were slightly more glamorous. Because on stage in the beginning, there were rips in his fishnets, that he had track marks down here and blood running down, and a big sticking plasters across his hand and bruising from where he'd been shooting up and whatnot. Or there's quite a scary character.
Yeah.
And yet, for the first time, women in the audience went, "Hello," and it was very interesting. Yeah. Because they were surprised at their own attraction to this person, this creature. It was an interesting time.
It's really changed. When I was talking to Linus about the film, his documentary on you, and the consequences of this work, we're sort of in a state of regression, especially in America. But we've advanced a lot. I did, after thinking about the interview and discussion, we have really advanced a lot where things that were seemed to be difficult for society, 50 years ago, became fairly mainstream. And even with some regressions, some things are not going to go back. Some things are just
we can't be other than what we are. We can't be other than what we are by default.
Amen.
And it's the world weeps for America at the moment. One of the most disgusting human beings ever to draw breath on, and he's openly disgusting on a daily basis.
Yeah.
you've abandoned rationality. I mean, I don't know how you've fucking done it, but America's abandoned rationality, and you've let this monster loose with all those dreadful enablers. I mean, it's sickening, isn't it? Absolutely sickening.
Well, see, I got up and moved to Ukraine, and see, our president has worn fishnets, been mocked for doing so, and that's why I like him. I live in a full-blown war here, and we look over our shoulder to America, and our guy gets it. We have a comedian who is fighting for existential reality, and has been on stage with fishnets and high heels and done it perfectly, beautifully, no less. That's why I like him better. I even had to tell you what's really funny is when I told my audience I would be interviewing someone super magical. I said, "You guys will not believe who I'm intending to interview." First, they went, "Zelensky?" No, I could. That's a cool idea, but no, I would rather interview this person. You'd rather interview someone else more than Zelensky? This particular person, yes. But yes, of course, Volodymyr Zelensky is more than welcome to come on the show. But partially because, in all seriousness, I think that I too underestimated, or I hadn't quite reflected on what this movie had done for people till I watched your son's new amazing documentary, and seeing people come out and reach out to you guys to interview and say, "You've changed my life." You really did. You gave a room for people to be able to really not only embrace themselves, but maybe even go beyond whatever the boundaries were. And I think that that's a great career thing to leave for everyone.
I'm delighted that it's happened, because it's icing on the cake, isn't it? We never expected that. It's all. I guess it was always going to be a subversive work.
Sure.
Although I didn't particularly. I mean, as far as I was concerned, all I was doing was writing a silly comedy.
Right.
I didn't see it as subversive. I just thought I was writing a comedy, and that was it really. So it's just it's astonishing. It still completely amazes me. It's wonderful. And
I hope it reciprocates to you, because like when I do work here in Ukraine and people thank me, I don't really know what to do with it because I'm doing it from a different part of my consciousness. And I didn't do it to have something come back. I did it just because it's the right way to do it. And actually I kind of get off on the emotion of giving. So it comes back, and I think that I see that in you guys, both you and Linus, because I want to shift to this project that he did, this wonderful creation, Strange Journey, because that's what he saw in this, was that you had affected a lot of people. So tell me your angle of what you saw in this relationship with you and Linus to where this documentary came out. And if you wouldn't mind, you could pick up where you said it affected his life, where he grew up in the rocky orbit. Yes. How Linus to now in this comes, because I think I would like my audience to know a lot more about what your son has accomplished here from your angle.
Yes, well, the fact that Rocky was turning 50 attracted a lot of attention, and there was overtures from several production companies that wanted to come on board and do it. But when Linus said he wanted to do it, I think, well, why not have a safe pair of hands on the tiller? Because you never know what these other people are going to do. They know where they want to turn it into something other. I knew that Linus would be treating it with care. Is what needed to, because the shadow cast, all those people we talk about that you say that's helped, they need to be looked after as well. And what I would have hated was for somebody to start ridiculing them, especially, and that can happen once you give your rights to somebody to do it. Keep in control of the direction. Could become difficult. So that was the reason Linus was allowed to and gratefully allowed to take over the project, and he made such a lovely job of it.
He really did.
It's exceptionally well edited. The segueing from music to image to dialogue is wonderful. It's lovely. And doesn't leave you wanting. It doesn't leave you, wanting more. And it doesn't. It's very satisfying. It's delightfully put together.
I'm very proud of what he did, and actually, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing all the other things he's done because getting to know him and seeing the work he's done, I see a beautiful person who's definitely a good creative offspring for the master himself, and we definitely want to see that grow. There's a lot of people. I've been watching the videos, like I said, these people who've been affected by you, and I recently reached out to Dori Hartley to say, she and I will have a conversation soon also because we're differently kind of peers. I mean, she's certainly the great Dori Hartley. But how we feel as someone who just kind of decided to go participate and what it did for us. Now we have the era of cosplay. I have one of the friends who played my friend Lynn, who played in the Shadowcast in Fort Lauderdale. These people, they have advanced participation in these cosplay, circles where their lives are really, I would say, healthy, and filled with camaraderie with people who love to be creative at a level most of the rest of society is not even bothering with. It's great.
Yes, it's delightful. Absolutely delightful.
Did you know we had an airing of Rocky here in Kyiv during war in October 2024 here in it was October. So it's kind of the typical place when Rocky gets that airing.
Was this the movie?
Yeah. I missed it. I didn't know it was even. I was a little upset because I would have gone, but America House, which is one of the the entities that helps promote culture and bridge the Ukrainian world with the Western world. They did an airing at Kino Theater here in Kyiv, and I was talking to Linus. We should do like a double feature with strange journey into Rocky and keep it alive because we have a community here. And the president, actually, Zelensky, just got through saying it's very important to back LGBT rights in Kyiv. That expression of independence is that, and that's a very important voice to have here in the country.
Excellent. Yes, that is lovely. I mean, there's enough of these. It's not. It's not on the front, not on the front burner for Zelensky at the moment, is it? But it's nice to know that.
Yeah, with all the things that are existential reality, when those things happen, when they get said for a certain community, it means a lot because they don't get forgotten in the war. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
One thing I'm really concerned with, and this is sort of like our big final thought for now, and I would love to have you come back. And I have an idea for another program another time, which is
all right.
Richard's favorite music bin, like just to get on and for like an hour talk about the coolest songs everyone sort of forgot, but they're the coolest tunes ever. Because when I listen to these songs, especially when you strum them on guitar, and I love that that's in the documentary because I like to pull out the acoustic, and now I've been playing these songs that you wrote. But I always go, what flavor of Richard's young ears brought that tune together? What was the ingredient? But so maybe in the future, if you're open to it, we should do such a thing where we just kind of a playlist.
I was a teenager the very year that the term was coined. My older siblings, they weren't allowed to be.
There you go.
But I didn't get to be and rock and roll. I used to think every rock and roll record was written especially for me.
Right. That's great. We have kids in a smart media, smartphone, like YouTube quick media era. And what I was really obsessed over this last few weeks thinking about talking with you was, we didn't have that exactly like that when we literally had to go see live music. Maybe we had some cassettes, we get out our LP, but we had to go see live music. We had to go see theater in person. And more importantly is when Rocky turned into VHS, all of us cast people went, why? We just really didn't relate to it. We really knew that Rocky was in the theater. It's a place you go because when you stand in front of TV, you can't do all the antics with the screen. It just didn't translate for us. And so now that it's even smaller, we don't know how to do any of those things. What do you think about all that?
Well, we didn't release it onto VHS until it was 15 years anniversary. I think.
Yeah.
15 years of live theatre and live cinema. And then it was released onto VHS, I think. And now, of course, it's on everything. It is a. I love the collective experience. I mean, we miss it, don't we? The cinemas aren't as full as they used to be. They're not as big as they used to be. We don't share together. Once again, in the 60s, when you listen to the radio, it was the same station in Great Britain anyway, the BBC,
Right.
BBC One, and so everybody, uncles and aunties, knew the hit parade along with us young kids. They may not have liked it, but we have these shared collective experiences. And once with television, so few channels, we all talk. The whole of Great Britain would talk about the Christmas show, the same Christmas show. We have these collective experiences, and we no longer have that. Everybody watches what they want to on their own device at different times, as you say, and from different areas. And we don't have these collective experiences very often anymore. And so rock is great for that. It is a collective experience. Keeps people together and having a party, and because we need more of that. Otherwise, we're all becoming very insular, staying at home and watching our phones or YouTube or whatever. And independent of each other, and that's a tragedy. We see, and I don't know where you are, but where I'm in
Kyiv. Yeah, I'm in Kyiv. So
well, we see our neighborhoods no longer neighborhoods. They
Right.
have loads of people living individually in independent houses, but they don't know their neighbors the way they used to 30 or 40 years ago.
Right.
And they keep calling it the such and such community. But it's not a community. It's just people who live there but don't know each other any longer. It's a whole new world, and AI is going to intrude even more in this insular world. It's terrifying. I'm well past my by date on as far as all that's concerned. I'm very old-fashioned and non-tech, low-tech, no-tech. I don't even have a phone. Isn't that marvelous?
It is actually. I would love to be. I would be better off without my phone. I live with the war itself is hard, but I usually get stressed when I pull up the phone and Donald Trump is called Putin again. So my phone is my number one stressor. My community is not. I love my community, actually. You kind of bring up something that happened here in Kyiv. I lived with a Ukrainian family not too far from here for the first 3 years of the war. And then I moved here to a new studio on the top floor. And the first thing I said when I went to see my adopted mom, "How are you?" I said, "It's just not the same over there." "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, here in our neighborhood, only a kilometer away or so, everyone sort of knew each other. We'd fist bump, the children, the kids, the dogs, the older ladies. And then I get to this new place, and everyone's nice, but we're in towers, and we live near each other, and we're polite, but it's not as engaging as the other location." And I felt it existentially enough to verbalize it. But I will say one thing I love about this country is theater is alive. Interactivity and connectivity is alive. People love to make film. People love to sing. People love to have musicals. I live in a country that has really brought out the culture that the country I come from is sort of mollifying, or it's too dispersed to really relate to it. But not here. It's very much a part of existential reality. And so, as both of us being creative people, to see a country and a people who really see that culture is a part of human expression at a level that most people may forget is really refreshing, actually. And I know there's a lot of fans here in Ukraine and Kyiv that would say, thank you also, or as we say, Дякуємо, Richard O'Brien, for creating something that people really love. So, we really keep theater alive here. Music is very much alive here.
I wonder, is it? I mean, I would imagine somebody could get the stage rights.
Absolutely.
Has anyone done a live performances for this?
Not in the sense of stage. The actual stage performance version would be an amazing thing, and I happen to know a lot of wonderful creative people who, like I said, all of those parts of the arts are alive. Let's do it. I'd be glad to. I have great friends, and it would be an honor to bridge that gap.
Okay, well, I can put you in touch with who you would need to talk to
Yes.
for rights, etc.
I'd be glad to do that.
It would be wonderful, wouldn't it? And yes, it would be lovely. A bit like Shadow of the Gunman opening at the Gate Theatre in Dublin in the 20s.
Precisely, because when I one of the things I do to keep my sanity in war, I've been through 1,500 and 30 something days of full blown war. We are now longer than World War I, not World War II. That's the shorter one. We're longer than World War I now here, and one of the ways to keep your sanity is to do weird creative shit. And good stuff that you really feel like when I'm on my balcony, just strumming the guitar and people downstairs have no idea. I'm like, I'm a sweet transsexual from Transylvania. So they don't have to relate to that. I have to relate to it. It's my guitar that sings as drones fly over to bomb. And and this is a part of the theater that you relate to, is that theater during wartime has always been a big deal.
Yes.
It's an ultimate expression of defiance and let's laugh to our death.
Up. Yeah. Yes.
Let's make it happen.
I get it. Yeah. We in fact, it's a survival mechanism, I think, isn't it?
We have soldiers who fought in this war and come back with prosthetics and get on stage and act. And as part of their cathartic rehabilitation and expression, and it is the most amazing. It'll move you beyond what you can feel that you could know. Yeah,
extraordinary. Well, I'll tell you what. Send it. I'm not sure that I can. Whether your email address is on this.
We'll get it through Linus. Yeah, we can make sure you have all that. Yeah,
okay. And then I can put you in touch with Merrill or Howard Panter.
Absolutely,
the Rocky Horror Company, and it may well be that it probably I could see you in this situation, you being able to do it for fuck all, as it happens,
Yeah.
I would have thought we'd be happy to come on board and allow this to happen in a war-torn country.
Absolutely.
It's a thumbs up from me.
Thank you, my man.
Yeah, I think that would be exhilaratingly wonderful.
I think it would be a great testament, because one of the things that bothers me is when Russia goes out and says we're the champions of Christianity and all these great things. They're promoting hatred against gays around the world. They're promoting hatred against transgender identity, and in fact, most of the propaganda is, they're going to transgender you. And it's like the idea that this is an intellectual weapon is just it's part of what the resistance to the battle.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It is fascinating.
I can think of nothing better than Riff Raff himself coming to bring the military that's necessary to destroy what is terrible.
But Abraham creation myth fantasy is mankind's greatest tragedy.
Yes.
It was that moment in time when we abandoned rationality, and when you think this dreadful entity, this God that Abraham dreamt up, approached the world after 4.5 billion years of us getting along quite nicely. And then he looked around the world. He looked at Mesoamerica, civilization there, nobody to pick there. Looked at India, civilization, no one to choose there. Finally chose Abraham as the man to be his mouthpiece, even though he's not a megaphone or the web. And this is idiocy, this childish fucking idiocy has enslaved us. And it stops us looking at our history intelligently. It stops us. It's the tragedy of humankind. We deserve better. That we're sentient species.
Mm-hmm.
That they're given the gift of thought, and we're 750,000 of the population of sentient beings would prefer magic to rationality. It's tragic.
And I think that which is part of our wonderfully, already beautifully created universe is already magical anyway. It's already filled with wonder.
It's extraordinary. I mean, the
Yeah.
reality. Yes, and we're at a moment of critical mass at the present. We're at a crisis
right.
at the moment for humanity, and we've reached it's a Galileo moment.
Yeah.
Because it took 200 years for the church to finally accept the fact, yes, we do orbit around the sun rather than the universe orbiting around. But they, to have denied it any longer would have made them look exceptionally foolish. And now we have the receipts, we have the fossils, we have the bones, we have the archaeology, the paleontology, and now we have the DNA trail.
Right.
Game over.
I mean, we are at a point in humanity, which is I'll say this is why I really wanted to reach out to you and Linus was, after all the stress, I went, fuck it, I want to do what I want. I'm going to talk to someone who matters to me. I'm always chasing. I do a lot of serious interviews here in the country, and when I saw some of the people interviewing you guys after the documentary came out, I said, well, I'm just going to do what I want. I'm going to interview someone that matters to me. And you actually said this wonderfully in an interview about being selfish, that sometimes you have to find that side that says, this is really what I want and what I believe and where I want to go with it. And I really found that one of the things, and I want to leave this as our final thought for now, and you've got plenty of things you want to say, I'm open to you. But there's still young people and many people who are trying to figure out how to be who they are now in this terrible time, in this stressful time. And you've done this as a path now. What would you tell them that they need to focus on, or ways that they can get
well,
through
I would say
chaos?
I would say to any creative artist, nothing comes out of a vacuum. Don't be afraid to steal from everywhere, plagiarize. Don't be afraid to do that. But if you do, you have to improve upon what you're stealing. In other words, use it as a tool, not as just plagiarism and just plain copying and all the rest of it.
Right.
There's no art without craft, but at the end of the day, especially I find I write cautionary tales for myself and my grandchildren.
Nice.
But without any pressures, nobody's looking over my shoulder. My only job is to make the next line as good as the one before. I don't have to worry about where it's going at the end. All I have to do is continue. I can spend a week on 4 lines, and I've got no one's pushing me, and I can have so much pleasure just playing with 4 lines for a week or more until I say I'm very happy with that little section there. That's great. I'll keep that. Now I can move on. Please. It's pleasing yourself with your own reference. If we're watching other people's work and reviewing other people's work, as we do without being asked to review it, we do mentally. We go, we like this, and this is what we like. We must do that with our own work. We must be radical, think about it, and restructure, and try to hone it to a point where you go, actually, that's not fucking bad. When I get a couplet going, sometimes I get a couplet. I want to rush out in the street and stop people and tell them I just come up with a great fucking couplet. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I write a lot cathartically, and I get obsessed at the cafe in the morning as a way of getting my energy out of what's going on. And sometimes it's tongue in cheek. It may be about politics, but I've got a certain edge that I just have to get done. And I will get on the phone immediately with people after I've done. It's like, you have to check out this latest thing. And I really decided to turn into something what I decided to do. Like I became my own news chief here instead of trying to get a job with someone else. And I encourage people around me to tell me the same way. When I work with others, I tell them, no, I need you to tell me what your best idea is. And then we're going to make that happen. Don't come to me for mine when I know you're a vessel of this. Yes. Richard, I love you dearly. I'm honored to be able to tell you that in person, and it's an honor to be able to say that yes, I would love to bridge the world of your work plus your spirit to the people here, and also to a lot of people I know that are my former cast members, like my friend Ryan and Lynn, who all are part of this orbit. And there's a lot of people who are just stunned. They're like, of all the people who should interview Richard, it's definitely Chris, who also played Riff Raff. And you created something that changed our lives. And I hope you enjoy the sweetness of that.
I'm overwhelmed by the fact as it happens, and I can take no credit for it, or it's very kind of people to give me credit, but I really can take no credit for that. I remember sitting with somebody. I was in Singapore doing a show in Singapore, and I was sitting down there, and I said this person next door to me, I said, and I never really did anything to become rich or famous. It was never ever. It was never a driving point. To be rich or famous wasn't part of where I was coming from. And he turned around to me and he said, "What went wrong?"
It's nice to have a statue of yourself in your town, though. So for everyone who gets to see the documentary, and I don't want to give away too much, but there's a great scene of you being able to go up and marvel where you had once cut hair, and now there's this wonderful statue.
Yes. You were talking about people suggesting that association with gay people would turn them gay. The authoritative religious groups which had laid shite. When that statue was going up, there were lots of people saying, "Oh, young children will pass by," and you go, "What? They'll automatically turn gay? What's the fuck's wrong with you people?"
They'll be out there with the laser. No one bothered with the laser gun in public. It wasn't the laser gun in public, you armed alien. It was the fishnets. It is kind of interesting, though, that what terrifies people versus what should terrify people. They don't want to do anything that stops, mass shootings, but they definitely want to stop the fishnets.
And they want to bring the Bible into school and all that kind of crap. Ridiculous nonsense. Ridiculous. There's not a single person out of the 750,000 of our population that believe in Abrahamic creationism, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. There's not a single one of them who wouldn't agree that Abraham was clinically insane. I mean, the minute you take your young son to sacrifice on a rock to a god, it's time to be locked up, isn't it? It is time to be locked up, and everyone would agree with that. And yet they were all happily out there with the fairies.
I've been listening to the soundtrack again a lot when I'm going around town, and when Riff comes bursting in, Frank-N-Furter, it's all over. Your mission is a failure. Lifetime's too extreme. I keep thinking of Trump. I keep thinking, I hope someone will come into the White House and say, "You know what? We're done. We're taking this ship, and we're going to leave here now. And you've gone too far." And it's just it's that twist, the way you change the story right there. Everyone's having a party. We're all at Mar-a-Lago. We're jumping around. We're having we're messing everything up. It's completely out of control. And then in comes the sheriff. Go, "Nope, not so fast."
Yes, I saw Riff Raff as a party pooper. He was a sort of he didn't like other people having fun, did he?
I love you, dear man.
It's a pleasure.
Take care of yourself, and again, on behalf of somebody,
and my love and best wishes to you and your neighbors.
Will do.
Bless you.
Take care of yourself. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Master, we have a visitor.
The answer was there all the time. Well, nice.
Say goodbye to all of this.
And hello to all of this. Perhaps we need to take a look at our various monitors here to see what's going on in the rest of the castle. Interesting. Did you enjoy that conversation? I know I did. And the next thing I know, I'm planning a musical in Kyiv. Anyway, thank you to Linus O'Brien for arranging the timing for us to be able to get our interview together. Thank you to Richard for the time we spent talking. Great conversation. What to say? Thank you to Dori Hartley for jumping in here. Plus, seriously, a heart-stopping moment in that film because, you know, I've worked with a lot of musicians and a lot of creatives, mainly musicians, and there's this moment when they get to see their art pop out in front of them that makes all that work come alive. And I like that a lot because they bring a lot for us. And when we get to see it go back, it was, you know, it means a lot. There's a lot of people that were in the casts that I know that are not with us anymore. Time has passed, and one of the hard parts is like Sal Piro, the basically who created the fan club, is not here anymore. But a whole bunch of people that we used to share the stage with, who went through hell at home, who went through hell in their lives, this was a place they could be with safe community. And I really meant it, that of all the circles that I've traveled in, especially as a musician, Rocky was the most, you know, like wholesome environment you could have, to be honest with you. I was thinking about that quite a bit during these interviews, is that I didn't see people who were really self-destructive in that circle. I did see them in music circle. But yeah, it really snuck up on me how much I appreciated what this did. That's why I wanted to put this film together for you, this interview with you, and feature both the documentary and the interview. And I appreciate you tuning in. It's really, really late in America. It's midnight. I can't think of a better time, you know, to enjoy Rocky Horror. I decided to go on a little bit earlier, just because some people don't really stay up that late. And
you are fortunate, for tonight is the night.
It was really fun to put this together. We deal with a lot of fucking war. Sean was very excited. Sean Penner and I will be on later tonight. So for us, anyway, because it's 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:23 a.m. And we'll be on basically 9 p.m. our time for you guys. And yeah, real quick though, let me see here. I got a little slideshow here. These are some photos of my friends. It's a little teeny tiny, but it works. Some of my friends at one of the casts in Fort Lauderdale. And they were fun. A couple of them I'm still in contact with. That's why I'm rolling this. They get to see. Josh, my incarnation of Riff, being played by Josh. Look at the classic pose, they nail it. Aaron Shapiro, yeah. Anyway. The wonderful Rocky Horror Picture Show. So I promised you some music. I'm going to give you some music. And then I'm going to call it, well, for you it's a night. For me it's a morning. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Did you have a good time? I hope you had a good time. You know, it's, yeah? Let's see some comments here with our friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think we need to have some good music from Yara before I say goodbye. I'm so glad we had this time together. It's so wonderful to be.
Вітаємо, друзі! Дуже чудово бачити вас. І сьогоднішній наш виступ ми хочемо почати з пісні «Присвяти». Ця пісня присвячується нашим героям, нашим пілотам, які в перші дні вторгнення на нашу землю підіймали свої літаки, робили неймовірні речі тут над небом Київщини, над Харківщиною, над Одещиною, над Україною. І тоді їх прозвали «Привид Києва». Хто пам'ятає? Ніколи не забувайте їх. Це наші справжні герої, це наші справжні дракони українського неба!
is, I suppose, some kind of audio-biofrequency molecular transport device. You mean it? It's something we ourselves have been working on for quite some time. Which is capable of breaking down solid through space,
Master, we have a visitor. Master, we have a visitor.
Well,
Say goodbye to all of this.
Did you enjoy yourself? Did you have a nice evening? I thank you for joining us. I told you when I was playing my coy little secret of special guests that it would be something a little different, you know?
How sentimental.
Something really, really nice that was special and from the heart. And I hope you understand that for a lot of people, again, it's more than just a silly movie. It became a community. It became a way of life. And it did a lot of change. So thanks to Richard O'Brien, thanks to Linus O'Brien, thanks to Dori Hartley, and thanks to all of you. And remember, independent journalism really, really needs your help. We do this because we love to do the work, and we do it because we are out there trying to make sure that you get the best information. I'm talking. No, you may not. Where?
On a strange.
We already did that. Thank you very much, everybody. See you a little bit later tonight. Slava Ukraini, Heroim Slava, i Pizdets Rossiyskiej Federacji.